Elizabeth Taylor sat on the sofa by the window in her white colonial-style house in the quiet residential neighborhood on the outskirts of Boston, gazing at the autumn foliage in the garden. The afternoon sunlight of October cast warm light on the living room walls. The silence of this house was a time of peace for her. "Honey, welcome home." The front door opened, and her husband Michael returned home. Michael worked as an information security specialist at an IT company. Since their marriage 8 years ago, he had been the perfect partner for Elizabeth. He was understanding, kind, and above all, he respected her feelings. "Welcome home. How was your day?" Elizabeth stood up and kissed Michael on the cheek. His face showed fatigue, but seeing his wife naturally brought a smile to his face. "A new project is starting. It's a cybersecurity enhancement project. How did you spend your day?" Sophia called. "She wants the family to get together this Sunday." Michael's expression clouded slightly. Gatherings with Elizabeth's family always involved complicated emotions. Especially recently, thoughtless questions from her parents had been increasing. "Ah, I see. It'll be nice to see Jacob." Jacob was the 3-year-old son of Elizabeth's sister Sophia. After breaking up with her son's father, Sophia was raising her son as a single mother. For Elizabeth, her nephew Jacob was a truly precious existence. His innocent smile and the feeling of his small hands grasping hers gave her indescribable joy. On Sunday afternoon, Elizabeth and Michael visited her parents George and Helen's house. "Elizabeth, Michael, thank you for coming." Helen greeted them at the entrance. Her smile was genuine, but Elizabeth could sense some kind of tension. Entering the living room, Sophia and Jacob had already arrived. Jacob was sitting on the floor playing with toy cars. When he spotted Elizabeth, he stood up and ran toward her. "Aunt Elizabeth." "Jacob." Elizabeth picked up her nephew and kissed his cheek. Holding Jacob's small body made her chest feel warm. In this moment alone, everything else could be forgotten. "Good to see you, Elizabeth." Sophia smiled at her sister. Sophia was a beautiful woman with a bright personality and social charm. However, Elizabeth sometimes felt that something was hidden behind her sister's smile. Especially recently, she had been feeling an inexplicable discomfort in Sophia's expressions when talking about herself. "Everyone, dinner is ready." Helen's voice moved them to the dining room. The table was set with roast beef, mashed potatoes, and green beans. It was the family's traditional Sunday dinner. The conversation initially proceeded pleasantly about Jacob's events at daycare and Michael's work. However, by the time dessert was served, the expected question came. "So, Elizabeth," Father George cleared his throat. "Do you two have any plans to, well, expand your family anytime soon?" Elizabeth's hand stopped. Michael squeezed her hand.
"Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home? That's exactly what I did with Reddit stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious."
"Dad, we're still." "But you're already 38, aren't you?" Helen interrupted. "Medically speaking, if you wait too long." "Mom," Sophia cut in. "Elizabeth has her own timing. It's not good to pressure her." Elizabeth sent her sister a grateful look. However, Sophia's next words confused her. "But when I see Jacob playing with Aunt Elizabeth, I think she would definitely make a wonderful mother. She has natural maternal instincts." The table fell silent. Elizabeth felt there was some intention behind her sister's words, but she couldn't figure out what it was. "Yes," Elizabeth answered quietly. "But right now, we want to think about it at our own pace." After dinner, Elizabeth and Michael left early. In the car, Michael took his wife's hand. "Your family are loving people, but sometimes they cross boundaries." "Yes," Elizabeth gazed out the window. "But they mean well." "It's just." "Just what?" "Lately, I feel like Sophia's behavior has changed a little. I can't explain it, but something's different. Michael looked at his wife's profile. In their 8 years of marriage, he knew Elizabeth's intuition was sharp. What specifically do you mean? I don't know. It's just that when she talks about me, her expression is, like she's observing me. Elizabeth shook her head after hearing her own words. I'm probably overthinking it. My sister is just worried about me. However, that night, Elizabeth couldn't sleep for a long time. Sophia's words and expressions wouldn't leave her mind. December arrived, and Boston showed its full winter attire. Shop windows on street corners were decorated with Christmas trees, and snow was lightly accumulated on the sidewalks. Elizabeth and Michael's house also had a small Christmas tree placed in the living room, welcoming a quiet holiday season for just the two of them. On Christmas Eve night, the customary family gathering was held at her parents' house. A fire was lit in the fireplace, and colorful presents were lined up under the tree. Jacob was excitedly running around the presents, while the adults chatted over warm hot chocolate. Now, it's time for gift exchange. Helen clapped her hands to gather the family. As every year, the family exchanged gifts they had each chosen. Jacob opened his present first and cheered at the new picture book set. Elizabeth, this is for you. Sophia held out a large box. Surprised by the weight of the box, Elizabeth exchanged glances with Michael. Sophia, such a big thing, are you okay financially? Don't worry. I didn't choose this alone, Dad and Mom helped me pick it out. George and Helen nodded. For some reason, tension was floating in their expressions. Elizabeth carefully peeled off the wrapping paper. What emerged from the box was a state-of-the-art baby monitor. It had an expensive-looking design, and the box listed functions like 4K HD quality, Wi-Fi compatible, smartphone connectivity, and two-way voice communication. Looking at the price, Elizabeth gasped. It was an expensive product costing over $400. This is a baby monitor. That's right, Sophia's eyes sparkled. It's the latest model. You can see and hear everything with your smartphone. You can know what's happening at home in real time even when you're out, and it has recording functions too. But we don't have a baby yet. It's preparation for the future, Helen interrupted. It was expensive, so use it gratefully. You can see how much we're thinking about you too, can't you? There was a strong tone in her mother's voice that differed from her usual gentleness. Elizabeth felt uncomfortable but felt it wasn't appropriate to express doubts openly in front of the family. Thank you, everyone, for giving me such an expensive thing. It really has so many wonderful functions, Sophia continued. It's compatible with cloud storage too, so you can preserve precious moments permanently. The whole family can share them too. Michael picked up the box and checked the specifications. From his professional interest as an IT specialist, he was looking through the technical details. It's certainly high-tech. But why now at this time? George cleared his throat. Michael, you two have been married for 8 years now. Isn't it time to seriously think about family? This is our way of showing support. That's right, Helen agreed. It's important to be prepared. You won't have to panic when the time comes, right? While listening to her family's enthusiastic explanations, questions were growing in Elizabeth's mind. Sophia was raising her son as a single mother and didn't seem to have financial flexibility. In fact, previous Christmas presents had centered on homemade cookies and inexpensive small items. Why would she suddenly give such an expensive product costing $400? Please definitely use it, Sophia emphasized. Since we went to the trouble of choosing it, you can't just leave it in the box. Promise me. Yes, of course, Elizabeth smiled, but wariness was sprouting in her heart. The family gathering ended, and Elizabeth and Michael returned home carrying the heavy baby monitor box. In the car, Michael spoke up. Didn't your family seem different from usual? You think so? Especially Sophia. She seemed unusually fixated on that baby monitor. I wonder why she emphasized using it so much. Elizabeth gazed out the window. Snow was beginning to fall, and streetlights illuminated the snowflakes. The money issue bothers me too. Sophia recently said she was worried about Jacob's daycare costs, so why can she afford such an expensive thing? Maybe your parents paid for it. But Dad and Mom are living on pension too. Besides, their expressions weren't normal either. It was like they were hiding something. When they arrived home, Elizabeth placed the baby monitor box in the living room. Looking at the box, she felt an inexplicable anxiety. Should we open it? Michael suggested. I'm tired today, let's do it tomorrow. However, even the next day, Elizabeth didn't feel like opening the baby monitor. Every time she saw the box, her family's unnatural behavior came back to her. Especially Sophia's words, "definitely use it," wouldn't leave her mind. A week passed, but the baby monitor remained unopened. Michael suggested opening it several times, but Elizabeth kept postponing it with various reasons. I don't need it yet, I want to decide on a place before opening it, I don't have time to read the manual. The reasons were endless, but the real reason wasn't clear even to herself. She just intuitively felt something was wrong. One afternoon, Elizabeth accidentally found Sophia's social media account. She didn't usually use social media much, but while looking for Jacob's photos, she came across her sister's account. What she found there was content she hadn't expected. Sophia was regularly posting with the theme, "A sister supporting her infertile sister." Elizabeth's personal situation was described in detail. The fact that she had been married for 8 years without children, how she was troubled by her parents' questions at family gatherings, how she lovingly cared for her nephew, private information was laid bare. What surprised her even more was the high number of followers and engagement rate. Thousands of people were reacting to Sophia's posts and leaving comments. Many were sympathetic, but some were filled with curiosity. Elizabeth put down her smartphone with trembling hands. She couldn't believe her sister was using her private situation as content. And looking at the latest post, she received an even bigger shock. I gave my sister and her husband a special present. I think we'll have happy news to report soon. The whole family is supporting them. The post included a photo taken on Christmas night. It was the moment Elizabeth received the baby monitor box. Elizabeth stood up and hid the baby monitor box deep in the closet. She had come to hate even looking at the box. This gift had something hidden beyond surface kindness. Convinced of this, she had no intention of ever turning on this monitor. That night, when Michael came home, Elizabeth told him about her sister's social media. Michael listened to the story with a serious expression. That's a problem. Your privacy is being violated. But it's difficult to confront her directly. It would destroy family relationships. True. But we can't just leave it alone either. The two talked for a long time but couldn't find a clear solution. At the end of March, spring finally began to feel present in Boston. Elizabeth and Michael started spring cleaning to organize unnecessary items that had accumulated during winter. 3 months had passed since Christmas, and that baby monitor seemed to be completely forgotten. Honey, what's this box in the back of the closet? Michael's voice came from the closet. Elizabeth stopped the vacuum cleaner and turned around. Her husband was holding that detestable baby monitor box. Oh, that's... Elizabeth's face went pale. For 3 months, she had tried to forget its existence, but seeing the box brought back all the discomfort from Christmas night. It's the baby monitor we got for Christmas. I still haven't opened it. Michael picked up the box and brought it to the living room. Why don't you use it when your family gave it to you? It was expensive, wasn't it? Because I don't need it, Elizabeth's voice was trembling. But thinking about the future. Michael read the specifications on the box: 4K quality, Wi-Fi compatible, smartphone connectivity. It's quite high-tech. At least we could open it and see what it's like, couldn't we? Elizabeth was severely upset by her husband's suggestion. Her heartbeat quickened and sweat began to form on her palms. She couldn't understand why she was showing such a rejection reaction. Michael, Elizabeth's voice was small and trembling. If you really want to see it. She took a deep breath and continued with a shaking voice. Put a pillow in a baby crib, then turn on the power. A pillow in a baby crib? We don't have a baby crib. There's an old baby crib in the guest room closet. The previous resident left it. Take that out, put a pillow in it, and turn on the monitor. Michael was confused by Elizabeth's abnormal state. He couldn't understand why his wife was giving such specific instructions and why she was so upset. Elizabeth, are you okay? You look pale. Please. Just try it. Michael decided to comply with his wife's request. He pulled out the old baby crib from the guest room closet and set it up in the living room. He placed a pillow there and opened the baby monitor box. What emerged was a white camera unit with a sophisticated design and a smartphone-sized monitor screen. He briefly read the manual and installed the camera near the baby crib. I'm turning on the power. When Michael flipped the switch, the monitor screen lit up. At first, it looked like a normal baby monitor screen. The baby crib and pillow were clearly displayed. Look, it's working properly. The picture quality is good and the audio is clear too. However, from his habit as an IT professional, Michael was carefully observing the details of the screen. Then he noticed letters displayed in a small corner of the screen that were easy to overlook. Rec. Red letters indicating recording in progress. Elizabeth, this is being recorded. I know, Elizabeth's voice was small. Michael examined the screen more closely. Opening the settings menu, the Wi-Fi connection status was displayed. And the network name displayed there made him freeze. The connection destination was a network named Sophia Home_private. It wasn't their home Wi-Fi network. What does this mean? Michael was sensitive to such suspicious network connections due to his profession. He began to investigate the settings in more detail. Data transmission destinations, cloud storage settings, access permissions. The more he investigated, the more his spine chilled. Elizabeth, this monitor is transmitting data to external servers. Moreover, access permissions are set for multiple users. Elizabeth sank into a chair. The time had finally come for the truth to be revealed. What does that mean? She already knew the answer but wanted to hear it from her husband's mouth. Michael brought his laptop and began a more detailed technical analysis. His fingers quickly typed on the keyboard, analyzing network traffic. This monitor appears to be a normal baby monitor on the surface, but it's actually a much more complex system. Video and audio are recorded 24/7 and automatically transmitted to external servers. And Michael's face went pale. The destination servers use commercial streaming service infrastructure. This is the type of server used for live streaming and recorded content distribution. Meaning the video recorded by this monitor could potentially be used as streaming content. There's absolutely no privacy protection. Michael continued his investigation. Checking the access logs, he found regular access records from Sophia's IP address. Furthermore, he could confirm access from her parents' house IP address. Elizabeth, your family can monitor the inside of our house through this monitor. And they can also distribute that footage to third parties. Elizabeth covered her face with her hands. Her worst fears had become reality. I had a feeling, she confessed in a trembling voice. I found out that Sophia was turning my life into content on social media. She was posting detailed information about our fertility struggles and what happens at family gatherings. While listening to his wife's story, Michael continued his technical analysis. Then he discovered an even more shocking fact. Elizabeth, this system has one more function. What? Voice recognition and keyword detection. It's set up to automatically send alerts when it detects specific words or phrases. Michael checked the keyword list. Pregnancy, baby, doctor, hospital, treatment, hope, despair. Words related to private conversations were comprehensively listed. They were eavesdropping on our conversations and had systematized it so they wouldn't miss important moments. Elizabeth stood up and unplugged the baby monitor. But it was too late. If they had turned on this monitor, all their most private moments would have been recorded and probably streamed. What should we do? Elizabeth looked at her husband. Michael stared at the monitor, then at his wife. His eyes held anger and determination. First, we completely disable this device. Then we need to talk with your family. This isn't just a well-intentioned gift. This is systematic privacy invasion. While listening to her husband's words, Elizabeth felt her last trust in her family crumbling. At this moment, she understood that there were things more important than blood ties. That was respecting, loving, and protecting each other. Michael was her true family. Thank you, Michael, Elizabeth hugged her husband. I'm so glad you're here. We'll solve this problem together. Michael pressed his lips to his wife's hair. You're not alone. Outside the window, spring sunlight was streaming down, but Elizabeth's heart was in a storm. However, in her husband's arms, she felt true safety for the first time. No matter how difficult the battle ahead would be, she had a strong ally. That night, the two spent a long time planning their strategy. Confronting Sophia and her parents was unavoidable. But before that, they needed to gather evidence and make legal preparations. This problem couldn't be dismissed as internal family strife. It was an act equivalent to criminal behavior. As Michael closed his laptop, he said, "Tomorrow, let's consult with a lawyer. And we'll tell your family the truth this weekend." Elizabeth nodded. There was fear and anxiety, but she also felt a sense of liberation. On the weekend afternoon, Elizabeth and Michael returned home from the lawyer's office. Attorney Jennifer Roberts had confirmed the technical analysis results of the baby monitor and confirmed there were serious legal issues. Privacy invasion, illegal surveillance, and unauthorized recording for commercial use could violate multiple laws. Are you ready? Michael squeezed his wife's hand. I've prepared as much as I can. Elizabeth took a deep breath. But when it comes to actually facing my family, it's okay. I'll be right there. Elizabeth picked up her cell phone and called Sophia. After 3 rings, a bright voice answered. Elizabeth. It's been a while. What's up? Sophia, can you come to my house this evening with Dad and Mom? I have something important to talk about. Something important. A little tension mixed into Sophia's voice. Is it bad news? I can't talk about it over the phone. Please, come. Okay. Is it all right if Jacob comes too? I'd like to talk with just the adults if possible. Can you leave him with someone? There was a moment of silence. Is it that serious? Very serious. At 6 o'clock in the afternoon, Sophia, George, and Helen visited Elizabeth's house. All 3 had anxious expressions. Gathering in the living room, Elizabeth placed the baby monitor on the table. Let's talk about this. Sophia's complexion changed. What about it? Didn't you use the present we went to the trouble of giving you? I'm glad I didn't use it. Elizabeth's voice was quiet but filled with firm resolve. Michael, could you explain? Michael opened his laptop and showed the results of the technical analysis. This baby monitor appears to be a normal product on the surface, but it's actually an advanced surveillance system. He pointed to the network logs displayed on the screen. This device is set to automatically connect to an external network called Sophia Home_Private and continuously transmit recorded video and audio. George leaned forward. Isn't that a technical malfunction? No, Michael answered calmly. This is intentional design. Furthermore, a voice recognition system is built in, and it automatically sends alerts when it detects specific keywords. He displayed the keyword list. Pregnancy, baby, doctor, treatment. It's clearly designed to monitor Elizabeth's and my private conversations. Helen said in a trembling voice, we didn't know anything about this. Since Sophia chose it. Mom, be quiet, Sophia said sharply. Elizabeth stared at her sister. I also found your social media account. You're using my private information to gather followers, aren't you? The color drained from Sophia's face. That's to encourage people. Stop lying, Elizabeth stood up. You're monetizing it too, aren't you? Sponsorships, advertising revenue, affiliate marketing. You're commercializing my fertility struggles. Michael opened another screen. I investigated Sophia's account in detail. The estimated monthly income is $3,000 to $5,000. This is why she could afford the expensive baby monitor. Sophia fell silent. However, silence was the same as admitting it. Why? Elizabeth's voice trembled. Why would family betray me? Sophia suddenly stood up. Betray? I'm raising a child alone. I need money. You have a husband and a stable life. I have nothing. Does that mean it's okay to sell my privacy? Everyone sympathizes with me. People with similar problems are encouraged by reading my posts. Without my permission. Elizabeth shouted. You turned my life into a story without permission and made money from it. George stood up. Sophia, this has gone too far. Elizabeth, we really didn't know. Dad must have known too, Michael said calmly. The baby monitor's access logs also have connection records from your IP address. George's expression crumbled. Sophia asked me to. Asked you to do what? Elizabeth pressed. She said to just check on you two occasionally. She asked me to let her know if there were any developments about grandchildren. Eavesdropping. Elizabeth's body shook with anger. You were peeping into our house. Helen began to cry. Elizabeth, we love you. We were just worried. Love? Elizabeth stared at her mother. If you loved me, you would respect my privacy. If I said I didn't want to use the baby monitor, you should have accepted that. Sophia suddenly fired back intensely. You're always perfect. Good husband, good house, good job. I have nothing. When I try to make my life a little better, why do you deny that? Is making money by exploiting people's misfortune making your life better? Misfortune? I don't think you're unhappy. You just don't have children. Everything else is blessed, isn't it? Elizabeth gasped. Her sister's words stabbed her heart like a blade. Sophia, that's wrong, Michael defended his wife. Fertility struggles are a serious problem. You can't dismiss them. But there were people who were saved by seeing my content. I'm not doing anything bad. Using my personal information to earn revenue without my permission is illegal. Michael took out legal documents. We've already consulted with a lawyer. Sophia's face went pale. Legal action? Even though we're family. You crossed the line first, Elizabeth said. I won't allow myself to be hurt anymore in the name of family. George desperately said, Elizabeth, please. Let's not take family problems outside. We should be able to solve this among ourselves. Solve? Elizabeth sneered. For 3 months, I intuitively felt something was wrong. Each time, I doubted myself, wondering if my feelings were off. But my intuition was right. You were betraying me. Helen said through sobs, Elizabeth, forgive us. If you want me to forgive you, start by deleting Sophia's account. And delete all posts about me. Return all the revenue too. That's impossible, Sophia said. I can't delete content that's already been posted, and I've already spent the revenue. Then let's proceed with legal action, Michael said quietly. Silence dominated the room. The four family members held different emotions. Love, betrayal, anger, fear, regret. Elizabeth stood up. Let's end it here for today. Everyone, please go home. Elizabeth. Helen said in a pleading voice. Mom, I've made up my mind. Just because we're family doesn't mean I have to forgive anything that's done to me. I have the right to protect myself. The three left with heavy steps. Only Sophia turned back to say, You're cold-hearted, Elizabeth. Abandoning your family like this. You're the ones who abandoned me, Elizabeth answered quietly. When you betrayed my trust. When the door closed, Elizabeth collapsed crying in Michael's arms. The family relationships built over many years had crumbled in one night. However, she also felt a great burden lift from her shoulders. You did the right thing, Michael said, stroking his wife's hair. I know, Elizabeth wiped her tears. But I've really lost my family now. You didn't lose your family. You freed yourself from people who don't respect you. That night, the two talked for a long time. About the definition of family, the meaning of blood relations, and what true love is. Elizabeth understood for the first time the importance of trusting her own emotions and intuition. The next morning, she woke up with new resolve. She had lost some things, but she had also gained some things. She regained trust in herself and reconfirmed the depth of her bond with her husband. And she reclaimed the power to control her own life. The baby monitor was properly disposed of that day. 6 months later, Boston was showing its winter attire again. However, a different kind of warmth filled Elizabeth and Michael's house than before. Legal proceedings had progressed smoothly, Sophia's social media account had been deleted, and compensation for privacy invasion had been finalized. The documents arrived, Michael came into the kitchen and placed an envelope on the table. Elizabeth wiped her hands and opened the envelope. Inside were official documents from an adoption agency. The interview date has been set, brightness had returned to her voice for the first time in a while. Next Friday. Are you nervous? Michael placed his hand on his wife's shoulder. A little. But this is our path. Since the confrontation with that family, Elizabeth and Michael had talked deeply about their life direction. They concluded that there was no need to stick to family through blood relations. Relationships based on love and respect were true family. A letter came from Sophia. Elizabeth picked up another envelope. Should I read it? Michael shook his head. You decide. Elizabeth threw the envelope into the trash without opening it. I'm not interested anymore. The doorbell rang. When Elizabeth opened the door, a delivery person handed her a small package. Seeing the sender's name, she hesitated for a moment. It was from her mother Helen. Did she send something again? Michael asked. Let me open it. Inside the package was a small hand-knitted blanket. It was for a baby. The enclosed letter had a short message written in shaky handwriting. Elizabeth, I sincerely wish for your happiness. With love, Mother. Elizabeth picked up the blanket. It was carefully knitted with soft yellow yarn, and she could feel her mother's love in it. Mom might be trying to understand. But we still need distance, right? Michael said gently. Yes. But I haven't completely lost hope. That night, the two talked about the future. The adoption process, preparation for child rearing, and new forms of family. They were convinced that relationships bound by love were possible even without blood ties. Thinking about that baby monitor, it might have been good in reverse, Elizabeth said. What do you mean? Because we were able to identify people we could truly trust. And we were able to make the decision to build our own family. A few weeks later, an interview was held at the adoption agency. Sarah Johnson, the caseworker, greeted them with a warm smile. I've reviewed your application. It was very sincere. The interview lasted about an hour. They were asked in detail about their married life, values, and thoughts on child rearing. Elizabeth also spoke honestly about the problems with her family. I think you too, having overcome difficult circumstances, will surely become wonderful parents, Sarah said at the end. On the way home, Elizabeth and Michael walked hand in hand. It's the beginning of a new chapter, Elizabeth looked up at the sky. Let's create our own kind of family, Michael answered. When spring came again, Elizabeth's cell phone received a call from the adoption agency. Mrs. Taylor, I have something to discuss with you. It's about a 3-year-old girl. After hanging up, Elizabeth shed tears. However, they weren't tears of sadness but tears of joy. Michael, we're going to have a daughter. Michael hugged his wife. The family they had been seeking for so long was finally about to become reality. Until a few months ago, Elizabeth had been desperately trying to meet expectations from her blood family. But now, she was about to build a family through her own choice. It was true family based on love and respect that transcended blood ties. The baby monitor incident became a turning point in Elizabeth's life. What she lost was significant, but what she gained was even greater. Trust in herself, the depth of her bond with her husband, and hope for a new family. Elizabeth and Michael's new life was now about to beautifully bloom.